What is up, people of the internet? This is Brownstone here, coming to you with a new video. And in this video, we're going to be talking about Kung Fu Panda the Dragon Knight. I know it's been a while since the show came out, and many people and their grandmas have already put out their reviews. The reception to the show seems to be mixed. Some are saying it's good, some are saying, and actually, there seems to be a lot more saying that it's an unworthy follow-up to Kung Fu Panda. Well, let me defend the light side of the force once again. Yeah, we think the show's totally awesome. And the worthy follow-up to Kung Fu Panda. Now, why is that? Well, we went ahead and watched the whole series, and oh my gosh, we got nostalgia blasted all over again. Now, let's go over the story for this series. Kung Fu Panda the Dragon Knight is a Netflix show that has Jack Black reprising his role as Po. Jack Black was the voice of Po for Kung Fu Panda 1, 2, and 3. So this show picks up after the events of Kung Fu Panda 3. And it's implied that this is actually a true sequel to Kung Fu Panda 3. I mean, in the way that I say true sequel, I mean that the other ones kinda aren't. Now, I know some of the other shows have been rated high. Kung Fu Panda shows have been rated higher than this. But considering that Jack Black is back as Po, and I think the voice of Mr. Ping too. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did the voice actor for Mr. Ping come back as well? I don't know. But this is kind of like a true sequel to Kung Fu Panda 3, because this directly recaps what happened at. Because the beginning, spoilers ahead, directly, he recaps what happened in the previous Kung Fu Panda movies. In Po's own style, like the beginning of the first movie where Po's talking about how awesome he wants to be, how awesome his imaginary self is. Well, it's kind of like that. And, heavy spoilers from here on out. So, the story for this series is that after the events of Kung Fu Panda 3, Po is now the Dragon Master. Why they couldn't use Kung Fu Panda... why they couldn't use Dragon Warrior, I have no idea. I'll admit, it was a bit jarring hearing Dragon Master thrown around instead of Dragon Warrior, but I'll roll with it. I know that's a problem many people have with this show, the lack of... the perceived lack of continuity, but this is more of a standalone story that still acts as a worthy sequel to Kung Fu Panda 3, in that we've been following these characters for so long. Like, we know this is implied to take place a few years after Kung Fu Panda 3. So, my theory is that Kung Fu Panda, Po is now more than just the Dragon Warrior. He's now the Dragon Master. Yeah, I think maybe they came up with a title, a title that represents his awesomeness beyond the prophecy. Because the prophecy for the Dragon Warrior was around for a while and stuff, and well, since that story is kind of over, I think it stands to reason that they came up with a title for Po that is not directly reliant on the Chosen One prophecy. Like, sure, he's still the Dragon Warrior, but now he's the Dragon Master too. That kind of represents his status in China. I don't know, that's my theory. I'm sticking with it. So yeah, he's the Dragon Master. Everybody loves him. Yay! Hey, Po has to go on this food tour, kinda, in which he eats all the foods from all over China. Great, because Po loves food. Let's go. So as he's being swarmed by a mob of fans, this store owner takes him in, locks him in a closet for some reason. I think maybe to keep out the crowd. This one kid wants Po's autograph. That was kind of cute. And then, lo and behold, these two weasels show up. The weasels are the main villains of this series, and they take off with his gauntlet. They attack the village, and Po tries to defend the village, but unfortunately, he accidentally uses the gauntlet to destroy the village. Totally not his fault, and everybody's mad at him for it. Now, I'll admit this was kind of kind of weird, considering everybody turning on Po so quickly. Like, he saved China many times, and I understand that destroying the village is like a huge deal when you're supposed to save it, but I thought they'd be a little more forgiving, but I don't know. We need to advance the story, so whatever works. I'm far more lenient than most people when it comes to plot conveniences like that. So, yeah, let's just call it how it is. I'm not too concerned with the setup as long as the story itself is actually good, and the story itself is actually pretty good. I'll get into that in a bit. So Poe returns home. Wandering Blade shows up like during the fight. Poe thinks that she's with the weasels, but she's actually not. So Poe learns that his title is being taken away. Hey, this is sort of like this is sort of like a redemption story for him, because he has to get his title back throughout the show and stuff. So Wandering Blade shows up, and Poe again thinks she's with the weasels, but she proves that she's not. Her name is Lucera. I already forgot her last name. The Wandering Blade, and Knight of England. Now, right off the bat, it's great to see an expansion of the Kung Fu Panda world here. Now with England clearly being mentioned, so apparently there's more lands than just China, Animal China. That's great. So Wandering Blade is a bear, and she's a Knight of England. Great. She has this tough, no nonsense attitude and stuff, which acts as a awesome. I'm using awesome a lot. Thanks, Poe. She's like really strict. Strict takes her job very seriously, and she's taking none of Poe's nonsense. Like, I work alone. Where have I heard that before? Okay, it's kind of a cliche, and most cartoons with these characters, like, I work alone, and the protagonist is like, nah, I'm coming with you anyway. It's kind of cliche, but you know what? I don't care. I mean, I like seeing that kind of dynamic, this polar opposite kind of dynamic between characters. Like, we have this like happy-go-lucky protagonist, and then the co-lead is like, I'm having none of your nonsense. Get out of my life. It's kind of cool to see, and it provides a kind of cool lesson for that type of character too. I'm going to address one of the problems, another problem that people have with this show, because we're defending this show, so we gotta address every single problem that people have with it and explain it, or as much as we can. So, the Furious Five and Master Shifu aren't in it. Now that is a problem with most people have with this show. I personally couldn't care less. Let me explain. Well, if you remember in Kung Fu Panda 3, Master Shifu is retiring, so it's understandable that he may be in retirement. Poe's taken over and stuff, so it's understandable why Master Shifu is in it. The Furious Five, well, that's a bit harder to explain, but I'm going to try my best here. So my theory is that the Furious Five aren't in it because they're on their own missions. Remember, they have their own lives too. They have their own missions. It's I think we've seen them together so many times that they've become an intrinsic part of Poe's journey and stuff. But you have to remember, before Poe showed up, they were on their own missions too. So what if they were pursuing another threat? And haven't we seen them in the other series too? So why do we need to see them here? It would have been nice to see the Furious Five, but I don't think they have to be in every single series. Especially since this is more of a redemption arc for Poe. And this is focused on Poe and Wandering Blade. Having the Furious Five in it would be kind of unnecessary. This is a globetrotting mission that focuses on these two characters. So we don't really need the Furious Five in it because they wouldn't really contribute much. I think it's better to not have the Furious Five in this show than to have them shoehorned in and literally provide nothing. Because Lord knows we have quite enough of that cliche. So yeah, I don't mind that the Furious Five aren't in it. Let's talk about the animation. I think it's actually pretty good. It may be a side effect of seeing the My Little Pony Make Your Mark special that I've become desensitized to lower budget animation. But right from the get-go, we knew that this wasn't going to be the same animation budget from the movies. Like, the Kung Fu Panda movies had stellar animation. and it's kind of hard to compare to that, but I didn't really see a difference. Now, I know there are a lot more eagle-eyed people than we are. There are a lot more eagle-eyed people than we are, and they spot tiny details here and there, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of things that we missed upon our viewing. However, I don't really mind the animation. It's still fluid. It's still fluid. The way they choreograph action is still reminiscent of the movies. It really gives off that Kung Fu Panda movie kind of feel. Still. Yes, the budget may be lower, and they did nerf Poe. Yes, they nerfed him, but as another commenter on YouTube stated that if they kept him the same power level as in Kung Fu Panda 3, well, this show will be over in 2 episodes. So, yeah, it's unfortunate that they had to nerf him, but come on. You gotta be willing to sacrifice something in order to have an engaging narrative. So yeah, I really love Wandering Blade and Poe's chemistry. Yes, Wandering Blade's like no nonsense attitude can be a bit on the nose at times, and she does some questionable things sometimes. But that's okay because she has a reason for doing so. Her brother was killed. And like there's this flashback in which Wandering Blade describes her the fact that she thinks she got her brother killed. Now we saw a similar thing like this in our last review of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Yes, I'm bringing up Doctor Strange 2 again because we love it so much. I love it so much personally. Luke does too. So yeah, let's bring up that again. America Chavez. Okay, I can't stop talking about her. So yeah, in Doctor Strange 2, America Chavez has a similar kind of tragic backstory. Something she did inadvertently caused her to send her parents across the multiverse, in which she thinks she killed them. Now, the main difference is that we know that the brother is dead, and with America Chavez parents, we don't. I think it's being set up for like a potential sequel series and stuff, but for a sequel movie and stuff, a standalone movie for America Chavez, which like she definitely finds the answer to that question. Which if that's what's coming up, I am really excited to see more America Chavez back in action. But back to Kung Fu Panda Dragon Knight, we got a similar thing here. I think this backstory makes Wandering Blade a richer character than she'd otherwise be without it. A lot of people are saying that she's a replacement for Tigress, but considering I already established that the Furious Five aren't in there, we gotta have this strong character and stuff that acts as a foil for Poe. And while people may think that it's kind of redundant, considering Tigress was already that for Poe, I don't know. Considering Poe's never doesn't seem to have learned anything from Tigress's attitude, I think it's safe to say we need another foil character. And besides, foil characters are kind of fun, as I mentioned before. So yeah, I really think that this character works in a lot of ways. And yeah. So we have very compelling protagonists. The animation is great, still great. So the villains. Yeah, people have a problem with the villains, the weasels. People are saying they don't compare to Tai Lung, Lord Shen, and Kai. I have to agree with that. This is the one point I'm agreeing with the haters on. They don't compare with the previous 3 villains. Why? Well, I don't know. Just when I first saw them, they didn't really scream evil mastermind villains. They didn't really scream big emotional psychological challenge for Poe as Lord Shen did. They didn't really scream former student turned evil, wants revenge thing like Tai Lung, and they didn't scream old friend turned enemy kind of brothers in arm turned enemy thing with Kai. So yeah, the vibe I got from these weasels is like the Three Stooges, or married couple turn villains, and they frequently argue with each other a lot. And I didn't laugh at their comedy. Okay, maybe that's a lie. I laughed at some of their jokes, but I don't know. Compared to Kai's Kai trying to explain himself, like Maker of Widows. I work with Oogway. Then there was like, oh, Oogway, yeah. Compared to that, and then Lord Shen like, Panda, we meet at last. No, and the way I don't. Or the highly memeable line of Tai Lung, finally a worthy opponent. Our battle will be legendary. I hope I said that right. Alright, don't sue me, DreamWorks. So, yeah, compared to that, I didn't really get that sort of vibe. The villains, they were kind of underwhelming. And sometimes the story can only be as good as its villain, and that does drag the series down a bit. Like, when you get a more Three Stooges vibe from these villains, rather than the big challenge that the previous three villains, the big three, I'll call them. It kind of drags the story down a bit. And some scenes in this special and in the series do kind of drag. I don't really mind dragging as much as other people. I can actually get invested in it if there's solid character work and stuff. Now, a lot of times, dragging can be used to pose intriguing questions, like in Batman vs Superman. The pacing was extremely slow. That was a main drawback for a lot of people. And being huge defenders of Batman vs Superman. And we completely understand where people are coming from. However, I personally choose to believe that the slow pacing was for a reason. It allowed for really intriguing questions, good moral questions, like the responsibility of Superman. Like, should he be responsible for mankind? And are there any moral constraints on Superman? Should he be allowed to act whenever he wants? Or should he be held back, like the Sokovia Accords in the MCU? So yeah, with these kind of questions, and slow pacing can actually work wonders. Not every story has to be fast paced. Go. Oh, if you allow the story to slow down slow down a bit, in some places, in the right moments, you can actually have some meaningful character work. There was some of that here, but not much. But aside from the pacing issues in some episode moments, I don't think that kind of drags down the story a whole lot. Yeah, it does a little bit, but not too bad. And not too bad. I can still follow the story, and because I don't really mind slow pacing in general, I can kind of get behind slowing the pace down in some places, even if it doesn't always make sense. I trust the creators behind this show. They knew what they were doing. I trust DreamWorks because they delivered 3 fantastic Kung Fu Panda movies. So, yeah, considering this is supposed to be our Kung Fu Panda 4, well, I trust them. Let's talk about the music, finally. It's missing that Hans Zimmer kind of feel. Like, Hans Zimmer and John Powell collaborated on the score for the 3 Kung Fu Panda movies. Actually, 2 of the 3 Kung Fu Panda movies. John Powell was absent from the 3rd one, and some say that his absence was noticeable. But I don't know. Hans Zimmer was still able to deliver a fantastic score on his own for 3. So, I don't really mind all that much. However, if we're going off of the pilot episode, the Hans Zimmer type feel was kind of missing. Now, I know the composers for this tried to emulate that kind of feel. And there are some instances where I'm like, okay, this is a callback to this kind of leitmotif. Or kind of, this is a callback to this. This is this theme and stuff. it wasn't really overt, but I can see this just kind of call back to, oh, they're trying to emulate that kind of feel that Hans Zimmer and John Powell brought to the series. So, the franchise. So, yeah. I can see that they tried, but the music was kind of missing that kind of Hans Zimmer type feel. But taking apart that context and looking at the music on its own, it's not bad. I mean, it's not terrible by any means. I'm not even gonna say it's bad. It's actually pretty good, but it's just missing that Hans Zimmer type feel. So if you're going into this expecting Hans Zimmer or John Powell to come back for this series, they didn't. I found this out by looking at the wiki. It wasn't immediately obvious. At first, I thought, okay, maybe they came back for this. But no, I looked at the wiki and different composers. So, different director too. So, yeah. So, yeah. All this doesn't really distract from the fact that this is actually a really good follow-up. I know people tend to have their expectations high when it comes to anything Kung Fu Panda related. I mean, Kung Fu Panda is like a really, really great franchise, and it taught tons of moral lessons and stuff. So when there's any kind of follow-up, people are going to be expecting the moon. But I don't know, maybe it was from watching the My Little Pony Make Your Mark special and not really minding it. But the animation was fine, and the characters are really engaging. Poe is still his lovable self. Wandering Blade is an awesome foil with her own complex backstory that makes her a much richer character than she'd otherwise be. The world is still fresh. The story is new, and the worthy follow up to Kung Fu Panda 3, especially after at the end Poe took over like the Jade Palace and stuff and became the Alpha Master. I don't know if that's what it means. The Dragon Knight. No, the Dragon Master, I mean. So, yeah. All in all, this is a very, very great series. Now one thing I have to mention before we close out, this series ends on a cliffhanger. They're clearly setting up a season 2 here, and me personally, I really want to see a season 2. I want to see how this story concludes. So, Netflix, DreamWorks, if you're listening to this, get on this and make a season 2. This needs to be said. This review needs to be put out there because there are a lot of people who say this is an unworthy follow-up or it's bad, and there's some of this in video form and there's some of this just in the comments and stuff. But considering that our objective is mainly to change people's minds and go with the minority opinion a lot of times, well, I think this needs to be said that DreamWorks absolutely knocked this out of the park. So, in conclusion, I'm going to give Kung Fu Panda: The Dragon Knight an 8.5 out of 10. A worthy follow-up to Kung Fu Panda 3, and it captures the spirit of the movies perfectly. And if this is a sign of things to come, then I can't wait for Season 2, as Kung Fu Panda is finally back. With that being said, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to drop a like and subscribe to be updated on our future content. There are a lot more videos coming your way. You don't want to miss them. So you know what to do. Turn on notifications, all that stuff, and we will see you all in the next video. Goodbye.